Hello. Oh, it's working. Perfect. So hello, everybody. My name is Rachel Dumont. I'm a graduated student from the International School of Management in Frankfurt. So for the very first afternoon Insight panel, we are going to explore talent in fintech, AI with our superheroes in finance. So please, first I will introduce you the speakers for this panel. So the first one is, he's a super senior executive who recently gave up his life in the Caribbean to join the government.com team as the COO. So please welcome Ian Atkinson. She is known as a superwoman in finance and self-called data junkie. She plays a really important role behind Sequoia. So, and she is the COO. So please welcome Susanne Schartz. A fast-growing and already success story. When they are far away from being a naive tech optimist. So when they look at the fintech space, they see the embodiment of the future, the opportunities, and the process. So please welcome CTO and co-founder of NextGate Tech, Semin Ibisevic. He is one of the most passionate professors in finance and blockchain you may come along. He is an academic director and professor of the Solvay Lifelong Learning and Solvay Brussels School of Economics and Management. He is here today. Bernard Nicolai. Let me introduce you now to the moderators of this panel. She is a bright mind and recent graduate from the University of Luxembourg in digital transformation. She is the winner of the 2022 winner of the 2022 edition of Pascal's VC Scholar Program. So please welcome Clemence Jerome. He is a force within the fintech ecosystem and a friend to the LHoFT. He is one of the brightest, if not the brightest, venture capitalist you would like to work with. So please welcome Pascal Bouvier.
Is this working? Yes, it is working. What's your name? Rachel. Rachel? Yes. Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. If all else fails in your professional life, I think that you have a future as an announcer for boxing matches. Because it felt like, you know, and here is at 250 pounds. And the super welter, yeah. My name is Pascal Bouvier. I'm the managing partner of MiddleGameVentures, a venture capital fund that invests in fintech startups. And I'm very happy to, with Clemence, moderate this panel. So, it's been a long time that I visited a university. Do you, first of all, show of hands, who are students? Yay. Do you know the concept of cold calling? No? Yes? Someone said yes. Cold calling is when a professor calls on you and you're not prepared, and then you have to speak in front of the class. I went to a university in the States, and I did that, or I was the recipient of that for quite many times. So, cold calling is usually on people that are either at the end of the row or the end of the row, right? And I'd like to know why you guys are here. So this gentleman, the blonde gentleman, all the way there, who's looking at me smiling, why are you here?
We're here with the whole intake of the master supply. So we made a trip here with like 200 students.
And why specifically here, in this auditorium?
Yeah, I think this
Oh, so you're forced to. Okay, fair enough. You're forced. This lady with the orange parka, why are you here? You're in luck, because these people are going to tell you all about fintech and financial services. And the four of you, why do you think you're here?
Hopefully to share some excitement in the industry.
Yes, very good. Any other?
To share insights and to help.
Absolutely. This is a misnomer, fintech recruits, fintech and AI and the superheroes of finance. They're really here to sell you dreams about your future in financial services and fintech in Luxembourg, right? Selling excitement. So enough of this. Clemence, could you maybe present yourself very quickly to the audience?
Rachel did already a lot about me, but I'm passionate about fintech and entrepreneurship since a few years now. So being part of this kind of events is completely normal for me. I really love this space, and I really would love to work and begin my career in this space.
Perfect. I think we have around 40 minutes. Let's hope that we'll have 5-6 minutes in the end for a Q&A from all of you, which means that we won't have put you to sleep. But I'd like from nearest to me till farthest to me, I'd like everyone to introduce themselves very quickly. Again, name, company, and then we'll launch into our dialogue.
Yeah, thank you, Pascal. My name is Ian Atkinson. I'm the COO of Governance.com. We provide technology solutions for regulatory problems in the financial services sector. I'm passionate about transformation in people, and that's essentially why I'm here.
Hi, I'm Susanne Schartz. I'm the COO of Sequoia. I'm here to really spread the word about Luxembourg. I think it's an excellent opportunity to come here to learn and to start a career, and maybe even to build a career here.
And hi, I'm Semin Ibisevic, and I'm the CTO and co-founder of Nextgate Tech. I'm here to present to you a very innovative startup that's at the forefront of technology and finance.
Hello, my name is Bernard Nicolai. I'm passionate about education and finance, and I do not know exactly in which order. It depends on the stages of my career. Currently, I lecture sustainable finance and also innovation in finance, including digital assets, at Solvay Brussels School of Economics and Management, at Paris Dauphine, and at Conservatoire National des Arts et Métiers in France. I'm also academic director of the Advanced Master in Financial Markets at Solvay. That's 50% of my time. The rest, I'm a private investor in fintech, in seed money. And when I can contribute, I contribute relating to strategy, finance, and partnerships. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. Before, I've had a 25 years plus career in financial services that might be of interest to some of you and on which I can capitalize on. And I'm here to share insights and to help. Thank you.
Thank you to all. So we're going to proceed in this fashion. I'm going to ask a question, and then Clemence will ask a question, and then I will ask a question, so that all four panelists will have the opportunity to speak and present themselves and what they seek and what they see. And afterwards, maybe we'll foster a dialogue between the four. So let's start with you, Ian. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Governance is a RegTech company. And maybe the audience does not know what RegTech means, so if you could maybe explain RegTech and governance within RegTech, and kind of like tell them why that particular ecosystem of RegTech is interesting and exciting for the next 5-10 years.
Of course. So RegTech, regulatory technology. I think to understand what RegTech is, we need to understand what the problem is that it is aimed to solve. And I mean, the regulatory environment in the financial services sector has evolved significantly over the last decade or so. And the additional regulatory requirements, the different legislation that has been continuously released, that add more complexity to fund managers, to asset managers, the fund services industry as a whole. Now that complexity brings with it a lot of work, a lot of effort, and that takes a lot of people. That also then equates to a lot of cost. Now, as I'm sure everyone is fully aware, the financial markets are not exactly stable at the moment. So costs is going to reduce margins. That's going to have a larger impact on any business. That also brings along with it increased risk. There are a lot of specific requirements to follow, and sometimes the regulation is not always black and white. There's a lot of grey. There's a lot of interpretation, and that interpretation needs to be aligned with the business's appetite towards risk. So in a nutshell, RegTech is a technology service to aid those companies in adapting to the regulations that have been released, to not necessarily to tell them what to do, but to aid them in the how. Okay, how do they stay compliant? How can they improve processes, workflows, gain more efficiency? And that's essentially what governance.com do. We've been around for 8 years now. We are reasonably established, more of a scale-up than a startup. And our goal is to work with our clients on that digital transformation journey, to really try and make a difference. It's not just about taking one process and then repeating it in an automated fashion. It's more about digital transformation, which is changing the way that we think, changing the way that we do things. And that, to me, is the exciting part. That is, to Pascal's question, why is this exciting in Luxembourg? The possibilities are endless. I think the possibility for growth for firms and to help firms change the way that they do business, that's the really exciting part for me.
Thank you. There are 3 things in life that you should be certain of, right? Paying taxes, death, and regulation. Hence, governance will be around for like the next 5, 10, 15 years.
What about you, Susanne? You are working at Sequoia. What are you the most proud about when you are thinking about the firm? Are there any recent changes you would like to change with our audience today?
Yeah, thank you. So we're positioned more as a fintech, so not just about regulation, but really technology for the financial industry. And if you have any experience in the financial industry, you know that industry needs technology urgently. What I'm most proud of in the company, really, we're celebrating our 10 years. I think we're in between, we're not really a startup anymore. We're relatively established despite the fact that we're still relatively small. We're 30 now. We've expanded massively in the last 2 years, so we were about 15, 2.5 years ago. We have 10 open positions, so we're going to continue to grow, and that's very exciting. We've been profitable from year 2. Maybe that makes us a bit different as well. We're privately owned, which is very good because we can pursue our vision, and the owners are really investing a lot of money back into the company. We're growing massively, and internally we feel that really we're in the right position in terms of our products. We're a bit ahead of the curve. We're expanding our product solutions. We've gone into data management, and maybe I can just mention that afterwards. We have a team of experts, and we're really servicing our clients with our hearts and our brains, I would say. We're very engaged with our clients. So the company, we're 10 years old. Our solutions are around product data lifecycle management. Data doesn't just have to be there and be distributed, but it needs to be kept alive. It needs to be managed on an ongoing basis, and that's where we're providing solutions. And then also some of the reporting, the RegTech, let's say, solutions, the stuff that needs to come out to satisfy. I think what's really going on in the industry at the moment is very much data and awareness of data being necessary, of the life cycle of data, and of this big need to control it and to keep it consistent. And that's actually due to the regulation. Right? The regulation and the regulators are really going about that now. The regulators very clearly are enforcing data management in terms of asking companies, give me more data. And if you give the wrong data to a regulator, they don't like it. So you have a big interest to get it right. So that's what we work on, data governance, accessibility of data, data broadcasting, giving it out into the world, system to report, system to document, system to people, and the data consolidation.
Thank you. Semin, maybe you could share with us what makes Nextgate unique and why everyone should be excited about Nextgate. And you also.
Absolutely. So, Nextgate Tech. If you haven't heard of us before, so basically it's, like I said before, a fintech that's specialized as well in data management, but mostly also in analytics and insights from this data. So we have basically, if you look at the people that work for us, it's a broad range of skills that we are mixing together to deliver quite an amazing product, I would say. So we have not just the classical software engineers that are there to develop the platform. We also have data scientists, quantitative analysts that are there to extract the value from this type of data. And also what's really exciting is that we're dealing with a lot of data. And with a lot of data, you can do a lot and you can, have fun. If you're a data, kind of freak or enthusiast, you're going to have the greatest time of your life at Nextgate. So yeah, and there are, other reasons why you should be excited about Nextgate. It's also, of course, we are as well in a very fast-growing market. There's a lot of new opportunities that are arising that I think we can discuss later as well for the perspective. But overall, it's basically a mix of a lot of interesting topics that are consolidated into amazing product.
Staying on the same subject, Bernard, you were one of the first investors along Pascal in Nextgate Tech. What were for you the most key defining factors for, as an academic and also as an investor for making this decision?
Thank you for the question, and I see that you are very well informed, indeed. It's true with some of my friends, business angels based in Brussels, from B Angels, we were the first. We are indeed among the first investors with the company. So just because the co-founders Semin and Davide, they came to pitch in order to accelerate their business. It was very early stage, and I would say that for us there were three defining factors. The first one is the team, the second is the team, and the third one is the team. So basically, they seem to be in love with the problem, basically to increase efficiency in asset management and also to decrease risks based on cloud technology and also the usage of artificial intelligence, which seemed attractive to us at the time. It was already 3 years ago in 2019. They were highly motivated, but of course, they also did their homework. They came with a pitch with a very clear problem, with a potential solution, with a scalable solution, with a big market. And the result is that they've done already 4 rounds at this stage, and all the historic shareholders, they have decided to reinvest. So that's really clearly an example of what matters. And I think it's interesting for you students because it's the same. You are going to join a company, possibly a fintech. Why? Well, look at the team, if I may. if I may, who are the people, in addition to what's the scope of the work, and of course the benefits. But look at the team, talk with them. That's very important for me. Does it answer your question?
Sure.
I have a question for all 4 of you, actually. So whoever wants to answer first, jump in, and you can augment the first answer as you see fit. So for the audience, could you flesh out and explain why they should contemplate a future in financial services in Luxembourg or in fintech, whether it's a fintech scale-up, a more mature startup, or a earlier stage startup, right? Why instead of another country or another city?
So for me, there's 2 reasons. Is it the city that you're asking about, or the place, or more the industry?
The Luxembourg financial services ecosystem.
Okay, financial services money makes the world go round. It's just like this. It's an important sector, right? Finance is what drives, and you can find many other drivers, but they're important together. It drives economy, it drives loads of things. Number two, technology, you know, it's here to stay, and if you don't get it, you don't get it, but you're going to be left behind. And the third thing, Luxembourg, it's the most international place in everyday life. Luxembourg is more international than France, than Paris, well, than France, than Paris, or than London on a day-to-day life. Right? Because every day you speak with people from at least 5, 6, 10 different countries. And you don't have that normally when you work in a large company in London or in Paris. It's much more uniform.
If I may touch on the topic, why fintech? You know, why a startup? Now, I've had a very diverse career. I left school at 16. I started my professional career quite young, which is why I've got no hair. And I think I've worked for large firms and small firms. I think the opportunity that you get at a startup, at a smaller firm, I mean, it's like, you're now 30 people, we are the same, 32 people. The type of work that you get to do and the broad spectrum that you will cover, I think that brings with it a lot of experience, a lot of opportunity, and essentially, you know, you can define your own future. There's some new hires that we've brought in only 3-4 months ago who might have started in a particular job, but they've already changed roles because there's opportunity to flex, to move. If you go to a larger organization, it's obviously, you know, 200-300 people per team, and you can be very, very segmented, very focused on a particular topic. And I think the opportunity is just so much greater at a startup. There's no days the same. There are challenges, of course. There are problems. There are teething problems, growth pains. But that's really where you learn. And I would wholeheartedly recommend that to anybody.
If I may just add on that, so everything what Ian said, why you would maybe join a company like Nextgate Tech in addition. So everything that was said before, totally agree. If you join a startup, you will have direct exposure from your work. So everything you deliver will have a direct impact, right? So that's really good. If you are a problem solver, you like to solve problems, complex problems in the technological field, as well as maybe in financial fields, you know, working for a startup is the best thing to grow exponentially. You're going to learn so much in a short time. In addition, why you would join a company like Nextgate Tech is because we have so many different skills that are in there. So we have different backgrounds, as Susanne mentioned before. You know, we have like 15 different profiles, different languages, and they're all working together on the same problem. So you're not going to be only stuck with your own group of people or people that are only like-minded like you. You're going to be working really all the time, being exposed to different ideas, different impulses, etc. So that's a great thing. I think it's a great thing for you to evolve, and as well for, even if you decide later not to work anymore in a startup, you have made such a strong foundation, you have developed so many skills that it will only benefit you for the rest of your life.
To build on Semin's point, I'm sure there are very exciting opportunities in fintech, certainly, but it's perfectly acceptable that some of you are interested in other options or other avenues, such as working in larger firms in financial services, or to work with regulators, or maybe to work in big four companies or in consultancies. That's all very well. Then my advice is just be curious. Huh? Talk with fintech, because maybe you're wrong. So maybe you have preconceived ideas. And even if you decide to work in those other firms, you will be exposed to fintech anyway, because large firms like banks and so on, they just are in the process to buy fintech. Huh? So they need a competent and smart analyst to scout the market or in order to do partnerships. If you work with regulators, believe me, you regulate them, payments companies and so on. And if you work in consultancies, you just help them grow. So you work indirectly for them. So it's maybe a different perspective, but there are lots of reasons for you to be here and lots of reasons for you to talk to all the companies that are present here.
I have a question for Susanne. You have over 20 years of experience in asset management. What is your opinion about this evolution, and how do you think this is affecting the skills you are looking for when hiring candidates?
So I think it's obviously useful to have different experiences. For me personally, when I joined the asset management industry, the company I joined only had 40 employees, and it then grew to 300. So I basically started in a pretty small company, and in my personal experience, I'm echoing what you've just said. Being in a small company allows you to see much more, to understand more. So what you need is that curiosity, the interest in understanding more and not being siloed. So in that company, I've seen, at the 300-person stage, you'd have people sitting next to each other, and one didn't know what the next one was doing, even though they were in the same department. Right? For me, that's hard to understand, because you know what you talk about with your colleagues all the time in your own department, but fine. But when the company is smaller, you can really grow your personal knowledge massively. And for me personally, that's been very useful. So I've always been interested in understanding what I'm doing, why I'm doing, what the next person is doing with the product or the result that I'm delivering. And it's really helped me personally in my transition to go to Sequoia, where I'm the COO, and suddenly the role is much larger. I'm looking at contracts, I'm looking at all kinds of things, legal points, compliance. There's much more different influences coming into my daily work. Personally, I find that super interesting, but the fact that I was always more interested before has helped me. So even in the past, when nobody asked me to, I would read contracts if I got my fingers on them, because then I knew, well, what have we contracted for with a certain supplier? So what can I expect from them? What are we paying for? So if I change something, is that going to increase my cost or decrease my cost? So I would overall echo, the curiosity is the most important. Constantly try to understand why you're doing things. You need to understand what you do anyway if you want to do your job properly, but why are you doing it? What does it serve in the larger picture?
Just to add one small piece on that, so indeed, I 100% agree. And in addition, there's another benefit of being exposed in what you are being exposed to during small companies is that you can actually maybe learn something about yourself or learn about some interest that you didn't think you had before. I have two examples in our company. We had a person without any coding skills, only into finance, had been only in the financial industry, never coded in his life. He became one of the pillars of the company at the moment in terms of the technology. So the guy learned in a relatively short time how to code, how to do it properly, and become even important, a pillar in the company. Another example, the other way around, someone that had been coding his whole life, a software engineer, who learned that he actually has a lot of interest in finance, became a financial specialist, knows everything about equity, bonds, CDS, all these the complex derivatives, etc. Whereas in his past, he has no background in that. So I think that can be also something that adds as an additional benefit.
I have another question for the entire panel. I heard, I don't know if you've heard also, but like me, but I've heard a commonality between Ian, Susanne, and Semin, and I'm sure that Bernard is going to concur with me. They all talked about data and the importance of data in the financial services industry at large and with fintech startups. So we may have in the audience students that have studied data management, data analytics, and so. But we may have some that may not. So if all of you could explain a little more why data is so important, and for those students that decide to get into the fintech space or in financial services, what do they need to acquire if they were not in touch with data during their studies? Ian?
I think on that last point, if you're not in touch with data during your studies, I mean, one of my most key pieces of advice is to read and to explore. I mean, data is, we've touched on data from different perspectives, but from a regulatory perspective, I think Susanne made this comment earlier on. There's so much pieces of data, documentation that needs to be accumulated throughout every single process. And that needs to be done in the correct way. That needs to be stored, that needs to be managed. I'm sure Semin can talk a bit more about data from a financial transaction perspective, but it doesn't matter which way you look at it, data is key, and data management is so critical to doing the right thing. It's easy to make mistakes. Those mistakes have consequences. Those consequences can lead to reputational damage, to fines. But if you don't have a background in this, go and read. There's thousands and thousands of really, really interested and informative documents and forums and seminars to attend. I think to learn is critical to work out. One is data something that you're interested in following further, or two, just to understand it, because to understand data means that you effectively understand business.
So I would say that actually everybody is already in touch with data, and we have to be very clear, data does not mean numbers, right? So in your everyday life, you are in touch with data, but you might not think about it as data. So let's say, you're in a lecture and you see, depending, a girl, a guy that you're interested in, right? They kind of catch your eye. What do? You start collecting data. Do you see that person with someone? Are they already with somebody? Where do they go to? Which lecture do they go to? Where do they sit? That's data, right? That's data. And then you manage and analyze that data. You say, well, that person is reading books all the time, or the paper, they seem to be going out with that other person, or, meeting up with some friends, so how can I get into this group? So I would argue that we're all capable of managing data, of understanding data. We just have to make that step and say, well, it's not numbers in a spreadsheet, and it's also numbers in a spreadsheet, but the capability, in principle, everybody has, right? And everybody needs it. If you don't have that capability, you can't live. Right? Not the dating one, but analyzing the situation you're in, right? It's all about data. And I think that's the step to make. And it's just getting exponential, and you can't manage it, in your head anymore. You need spreadsheets, you need technology.
Oh, sorry. So I just wanted to add on, so Susanne is, the answer that I wanted to give is actually, Susanne, you're good in data analysis. What I want to say is, I think the reason why data is important is because of the application of what you can actually do with it. If you have a problem and you want to solve it, most often you're going to need data to solve the problem, and this is the other way around. And it even helps you to make sure that the outcome of your analysis, you're gonna question the data because you're going to be questioning the analysis. To give you a concrete example, in our case, when we started the company, we were not thinking about data management as a service. That was just one of the services we currently offer, but we did not think about that. We were explicitly focused on the analytics. So the analytics were mainly for the purpose of NAV oversight. It's a specific field, let's say, in the fund industry. And for that, in order to create the analytics we wanted, in order to help automate all the processes we needed to do, and as well as to get away from the Excel spreadsheet that people are using, we needed to get the data right. So it was for us a really natural thing. So we invested a lot of time in getting the data right, so cleaning it, harmonizing it, mapping it. And by the way, this is something, if you work with data, you're going to be doing that all the time. If you're going to work in the analytics, you're going to work 90% of your time on getting the data right. So for me, it's essential for the application.
Yes, just to reinforce some points. So Susanne, for example, you stress a lot the need to be curious. I cannot agree more. And relating to data, as it is critical, very practically for you, students, there are lots of possibility to do MOOCs online, alone, online training. Later on in your career, executive programs, but then it's necessary to have that paid by your organization because it's quite expensive. And you can just have access to platforms such as Data Camp and those kind of things. You can learn lots of things, even starting from scratch. In my program at Solvay, there is a lecture on machine learning, another one on data science, but the message is, please go and investigate and deepen your knowledge by yourself. That's really, because the opportunities are huge. I see you are nodding, so it's okay, thank you.
You were highly emphasizing the value of managing data, but I would like to ask you, Bernard, what are, according to you, the future skills that will be necessary for business and finance people in the coming years?
Oh, that's ambitious for me to try to answer that. You can see that under different angles. First, you can focus on the definition of finance. Good people in finance, what do? Well, they do asset allocation. Should I invest in cash or in private equity, to summarize? Or what's the right balance? How should I price the risks? And what about governance? So it's for sure you will still need skills such as analytical thinking, also reporting, communication, decision making, and so on. But there are also attitudes that are skills such as passion, curiosity, and so on, integrity, because authenticity, and specifically for fintech, I believe. It's evolving so quickly that if you are curious and if you are also very good in critical thinking, I think it's a very good start.
Thank you.
Maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, I think that's some really good points, Bernard. I think going back to digital transformation, it really is a journey, and I think in recent years, fintech, regtech within Luxembourg, especially. You've kind of seen a coming together of two very different cultures. The incumbents here, the large banks, with one particular culture and mindset, and then the fintech ecosystem, which is entirely different. And I think that combination of different talents on both sides is really what is needed to go on that journey, to actually change the way that work is being done. I mean, you touched on like some of the softer skill points there, Bernard. I think it's really to be innovative and to be creative. You need to work really closely with the clients. You need to understand. You need to actively listen to what the client wants. You need to show a lot of empathy. You need to show a lot of humility. You need to really get into their day to day. I think these softer skills are so important in order to be able to marry the two cultures together, so we can really take advantage of the possibilities of using technology to really change the way that things are done.
What I heard from all four panelists was that if you work with a startup, right, a smaller entity, you'll have many more opportunities to learn many more things than if you start with an incumbent, a large corporation. And then I heard Semin use two examples of two persons within Nextgate that had absolutely no subject matter expertise in one particular subject and that ended up being experts. So I'd love for you, Semin, to start us off, but by all means, Susanne and Ian, please answer and opine from the point of view of your own businesses. Let's assume that we have like a couple of people here that are going to end up working for Nextgate, right? Can you explain to them the type of culture as well as the type of opportunities and or programs that they're going to be the recipients of in order to grow?
Absolutely, yes. So starting first with a little bit of culture and environment, how it looks like. So when you come to Nextgate, you will notice immediately one thing, and that is that it's full of passionate people with different backgrounds, right? So different skills, different origin, different languages that they speak. You're going to see that as first. And you're going to see them in an environment where they are basically on a day-to-day basis, they're really working hard to solve the toughest problem in the industry. And the problems are difficult. I mean, they're really hard. So you see them day in, day out, motivated, really working hard, creating this kind of ambience in the room of, you know, something is happening. We're working towards a goal. We're trying to become the best. Something amazing is being created here. You feel that, and it's reflected in a lot of ways. It's also reflected in the people, how they behave, but it's also in the work environment. So we have these kind of three values that we really stress all the time, which is entrepreneurialism, synergy, and innovation. And it's really something that is reflected on a day-to-day work. Anything that is being created can be challenged on those. So for instance, on the first one, we give a lot of freedom to the people to decide on how they want to solve the problems. Of course, with that comes responsibility, but the impact is, it means that the impact that you make is direct. You can immediately measure it. I did something, there's an impact, I solved the problem. Second one is the synergy. I really want to emphasize on this. You have quants with software engineers working together. Data scientists, financials, sales, everyone's working together on the common goal, and that can only help you to gain a lot of knowledge on that. And then finally, kind of what the most important, what I would like to highlight, what I see is that a lot of people grow, as in such of the example that I mentioned before, going for finance and tech, but not only people switching, that those are kind of the extremes, but even inside their own field, people are growing as much, and you feel that, and I think that's what makes it amazing.
Susanne, Ian?
Yeah, I think for us what's very important is that curiosity, really. So the will to understand and to contribute. In addition to that, it's team. So the team is very important, the individual, how they integrate, and that is linked to the contribution, right? If you don't feel part of the team, you will not contribute, and if you don't contribute, you will not be part of the team in a way, right? People can solve a mathematical problem on their own, right? There's problem solvers, but you don't grow a business on your own, right? So it's really that feedback, that team spirit, solving the problem together and bringing the company, but also our clients forward. I think that is important, listening to the client, and that's something that Ian mentioned. Listening in general, which can be hard sometimes. I'm speaking from experience. But, it's very important to hear what's being said and hear what's not being said and work with that as well. Right? We are working on developing solutions that we then have to sell to very different clients. Right? So clients have different expectations and they have different ways of solving a problem and different ways the technology has to help them. And you need to be open to hearing that. You cannot just impose. And I think that's, maybe it's basic social skills, let's say, but they are very important. It's really the team. And I think the second thing that is remarkable about Sequoia is the transparency. So we're very open. Everybody basically knows where we stand, what's the strategy, what's the vision, where we go. It's very much working together. It's a strong entrepreneurial spirit there as well, right? Really contributing, and we're expecting everybody to contribute. So customer support needs to provide the feedback, what's going on the customer side, what's the problems, right? We're very reactive as well. We have to be fast sometimes. So it's really think bigger than yourself and your role.
Thank you. Ian?
A word that you mentioned there, entrepreneur. So people often think to be an entrepreneur, you need to go and set up your own business. That's not the case. We are what we call ourselves intrapreneurs. We enable the entire team to be creative, to really own everything that they do day to day, and to be a part of building the firm. We talk a lot. We've heard examples here about the fluidity in firms like Nextgate, Sequoia, Governance.com, the ability to make your own role. I think what is crucial to that is being in the right environment that really fosters that kind of behavior, that kind of thinking. At Governance, I've only been with Governance.com 6 months now, and the growth we've seen, the change we've seen in 6 months is huge. Things move at a fast pace, but to me, culture is incredibly critical. It's the lifeblood of any company. I think culture is a bit of a buzzword, and often you need to really delve into what does culture mean, and is there a difference between culture and values, etc. But essentially, to me, it is what makes the company tick, and that at Governance we've actually created the governance code. So the governance code is essentially that culture, the values, that defines how we operate ourselves, how we operate with our clients, and it's the code which really enables us to provide that environment to our employees to really be part of structuring the firm the next 12 months. because that's, I'm incredibly excited where we could be. But I mean, growth is so reliant on talent, and it's finding that right talent in the first place to join the firm, and they are the people that will really make a huge difference going forward.
Thank you. Time check. Anthony, do we have more time, or are we almost done? A couple of more minutes? 2 more minutes. Do we have questions from the audience for our 4 panelists? Anyone? Anyone? Be bold, be brave, be asleep. Yes?
I have a personal experience. I graduated from a business school, which is in Marseille, which is called Catch. Graduated in 1985, and there was some classmates that were spending most of their time in rooms. We had rooms with computers then, and they were coding the whole evening. And I was thinking, man, they're idiots. Seriously, the idiot was me, of course. And one of them, Jean-Luc Pétorin, when I say, I got a traineeship in California, an obscure company. They like my coding and everything. And they were, I said, if you want to go there, you know. And he went there. And one day I met him by chance in Paris. He was in the senior management at Microsoft France. The obscure company he was working for in the beginning in California was not named Microsoft, it was another name. He didn't know, no one knows that's going to be Microsoft, you know? And my question is, do you think coding is important? Like, do you think that any student should be curious enough to get involved in coding, like, as a hobby?
If I may answer that, so you know, since I used to be a big coder, and I still am, it is definitely important if you want to. It depends what you want to do, right? Depending in which field. I think for a company to succeed, you don't have to be per se a coder. If you think about the other co-founder, Davide Matucci, he's not a coder, but he found the right people around him that can code in order to achieve the desired result of that. So for me, it's actually short. I think no. It's good to be curious about it. I don't think you will lose anything. The more you learn, the more you read, you will not have, you know, you will not lose out. You will not lose out. It's new knowledge that you've acquired, but it's not essential.
If I may just build, well, it depends, but in function of the audience here, if you are interested to work in fintech, for example, or even if you have doubt, well, the question you might have, how can be attractive to those companies? Huh? So I would say, well, maybe if you say, I'm good in coding, it will be an asset. But I would also recommend you to show that you can help your hiring manager to solve their problems. So if the problem of the company is, I need somebody to code, then it's perfect. If it's something else, then it's better to inquire and to be curious again and again, to inquire about the problems of the hiring company, just because the good companies, they have felt in love with their problems. So they need people to help them solve their problems. So show just that you've got the hard and soft skills and possibly coding, and consider lifelong learning as well. So it's maybe not exactly an answer to your question, but it gives a different perspective, if I may.
Thank you. We're out of time. Thank you very much for participating, the audience, for participating, for the panelists, to my co-host Clemence, and I hope that you found the past 45 minutes informative. Thank you again.